thank you for joining us again, and we hope you're going to enjoy this presentation on the TKS 80. We launched it in June, but first a little history lesson. We acquired the company SawStop Incorporated in America, I believe, this is the Festool Group, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. SawStop has been in existence, the technology has been in existence, I believe, about 20 years, so it's nothing new, but it's certainly new to Europe. This technology has never been available in a portable table saw in Europe, and we're the first to launch this in the summer. So again, with Festool, we're the first. Why didn't we bring it in on the American saw? Why didn't we just bring an American saw in? Any of you guys who are woodworkers and you've watched YouTube and you see all our colleagues and friends in America, they like to use things like stacked dado blades, which on the American machine you can do with this machine. Completely illegal in Europe, not available for sale, and that's just one of the things. If you watch any YouTubers from America, very often there's no guard on or no riving knife, all of which is completely, verboten over here in Europe. It's just not allowed. So basically we decided, and I think quite rightly, we're a great design company. We already had a fantastic offering with the CS50 and CS70, which we're going to show you later. So it made sense to incorporate it into our saw, but also we've made it a bigger saw. So the other two saws we have are the CS50, which is a 50mm cut, and then we have a CS70, obviously 70mm cut. And this is now 80mm, so this takes us a little bit further onto site and gives us that extra capacity that we do need. So the first thing I'm going to explain is why they've launched it at all. When I came to Festool back in 1874, or 1999 it was, after a few months of working, I realised, visiting joiner shops every day, 2 or 3 times a day, there was always somebody in the back with a bit missing, and it's quite common, and some of you guys out there might be listening or watching and have had an accident involving a saw. And in 2018 in Germany alone there were 4,000 serious accidents involving table saws, usually involving the thumb. And the big surprise to me when I started researching this and looking at this was the fact that probably, well, not all of them, but most of the accidents involve people with more than 10 years experience. So again, an element of complacency. You've got a busy workshop, the phone rings, turn your back, go back to it, and there's your accident. So, and if you watch the current crop of ambulance TV programs, you'll see even on there are people having woodworking injuries on those shows. So it's a serious problem. So hence we've launched it. It's a really serious thing to injure yourself. I would hate it to happen to me. So we brought this device out, and hopefully it will help reduce the risk of the more serious injuries. So, 2 versions. We're going to talk about 2 versions available first. There is a standard version, and then there is, as ever with Festool, there is a full set version. This is the standard version, and basically it is the saw and a cross stop. So basically this cross stop can angle anywhere from 0 to 90 degrees. If you don't choose to take this set, you can mount this on this side and use that as a rip fence if you choose to. Not as rigid as the fully functioning rip fence we're going to show you as well, but it's a good alternative in the short term. A nice innovation on this one now is the fact that, unlike our other table saws, this can also double as a sliding table. So basically you have movement along there. Just loosen this large knob here or lock it up. But if you lock it up, obviously you can't move it over the blade. So basically loosen that, you can use it as a sliding table. To get the angle, simply lift this knob here, twist it, and then this frees it up. And what you have are all these index points with various preset angles. If you want to fit, say, 50 degrees, which isn't a preset, you have an arrow on the scale here, turn it to 50 degrees, and simply lock it off. Another nice feature with the fence is you can take the rail off and put it on in the other direction. So this is particularly useful if you're using thin materials, 6mm ply, MDF, things like that. So you've got a better grip on thinner material there. But for this case, we're just going to pop it back on this way. So, one thing we're really keen to talk about actually is the quality of the saw. It's a machine incorporating SawStop technology, which is really useful, but hopefully you'll never use it. So we want to show you how good a saw it is. So what we'll do first, we'll do a couple of cuts, I'll show you some cuts, and then we'll show you the rest of the set by putting on the rip fence and the side tables and so on, and you can have a look at it. So first we're going to do a cut. And here's a nice piece of high gloss worktop, sorry, not worktop, probably a cabinet door from a nice kitchen. So we'll put that on and we're going to cut that. And we might as well use it as an angle cut as well. So your height adjustment is here. And the height adjustment's fantastic because instead of winding things, you just simply turn. And it's 0 to 80, in my case, in 2 turns. If you've got bigger hands, you can probably do it in 1 turn. But it's really easy height adjustment. So in this case, we're looking at something just over 18mm thick. So the more teeth, the better the cut, the easier the cut. So now we're just going to trim that off. So the controls here, you have a power switch on and off. So basically, put it on, and now we're on. And what will happen on startup, and the more you switch it on and off during the day, it has a diagnosis system or diagnostic process. So the red light and the green light will flash for an extended period of time, sometimes depending if it's been used recently. It's kind of checking itself out, and then it's set. We'll make a few cuts, and then we're going to tell you about the SawStop technology and how that works. So, start her up. Now, I've made my first cut, a really big tip when using the SawStop. That green light, if that green light is flashing and the blade is rotating, that means the SawStop is active, okay? We don't want the SawStop to deploy accidentally, so please, when you're cutting off small pieces like this, try to refrain from doing that. Because if the blade's still rotating, and I've done it myself, you're pushing stuff through and you're just flicking the waste out of the way, please don't, you could trigger the SawStop. So it's really important, while that green light's flashing, the SawStop is active and will deploy if your finger is anywhere near the blade. So but we'll talk about how that works in a moment. So there we go, just a quick cut. And you see, it's an absolutely spotless cut all along there. I'll show you on that one as well. So it's a fantastic finish. So this fence is a real nice improvement. This fence would also fit the other machines. However, it's not standard on the other machines, it's standard on the SawStop. So Eddie, thank you, my able assistant here. So, just a little bit about the SawStop. The way the technology works is the blade is protected by a signal. And basically, you break the signal, the SawStop will activate. What triggers it? Moisture or conductivity. So basically, there's a really simple test when you start working with the SawStop. If I just wind the blade a little bit to show you a little bit easier, you have a red and green light to test if the material you're cutting is conductive, simply. So as you can see, if I get my finger anywhere near the blade when it rotates, the SawStop will activate. We take the piece of oak, we're going to call the worktop again, either or. We use this piece of timber here. Nothing happens. It's not conductive. So really important, a simple test. Now on timbers, this will cut timber comfortably up to 50% moisture content. But again, the simple test is take your timber, touch the SawStop, and if you're concerned, then you can do a bypass. And the way we do a bypass, it's really easy. You keep your finger on the yellow button, the red light will flash once, and press start. So it's a 2-button action. Yellow first, red light, press the green button, and that bypasses the blade. What other materials could you need to cut like that? Things like aluminium, some plastics in particular. Anything that's likely to be conductive, you can use the bypass. However, really important point to mention, the saw is meant to be safe, so it defaults all the time to SawStop. So if you are using the bypass, on every cut you're using bypass. So make sure it's two fingers on the buttons when you're doing bypass cuts. If you've got a lot of aluminium to cut, if you know it's a real big part of your process, I would caution. You know, we want to sell you a SawStop machine. It's a fabulous tool, but if somebody else goes to the saw who's maybe not familiar with it, and try to use it, and they trigger it, it's going to cost you money. It's going to be safe, but it's going to cost you money. So if you've got a lot of aluminium to cut, maybe look at 1 or 2 of the other saws. Personally, I would look at 1 or 2 of the other saws. So basically, that's the basic set. So that's the saw and the cross stop. So we'll slide that off now. And next we're going to put on the sliding table. Now this can mount in two ways. So now we're talking about the set version. You can mount it here, or you can mount it here. And on the table, which you might not be able to see, but there's a green marker which corresponds to this screw here. And basically the simple way to line it up is simply to line it up like so. Just guide it there till it locates. That's one. And that's the other. You have a lock, a travel lock on the sliding table as well, so now we can release that, and now we can mount the fence again. So again, slide that on. And in this case now we can lock it to the sliding fence, and now we have a sliding table. Move that right across the two tables. So now we've got an easy way to use a sheet. So we'll do another little cut here with some timber again. Use our favourite bit of high gloss door. Drop the blade down again now. So start her up. Lights flashing. Wait till it stops. And now you can go. You ready? And again, even in that mode, a fantastic finish. Okay, so next, we're just going to show you these two items. We're not going to fit them on this occasion. As you can see, we're very cramped for space. But also in the kit, so you've got the sliding table. You have a side table. And this mounts on this end. Very simply, two screws and the keyholes on the legs. You can level it up very easily, and then basically your fence slides straight across the two. What this does mean is you can rip probably to about 620, so it should handle an 8x4 sheet. So 620 will be able to enable you to rip down an 8x4 sheet. So we get that in the kit. Thank you, Eddie. I think Paul Daniels, Debbie McGee. Choose your choice, who's who. Eddie looks great in a frog.
Get better legs than
You've got better legs. Yeah, you have got better legs than me, yes. So the back table simply mounts on a hinge at the back, and again that enables you just easy passage of larger materials and larger sheets. As I say, we're a little bit cramped for space today, but once they're on, it's fantastic. So next we're going to show you the rip fence. And this rip fence also features on our other saw tables as well. And this is a really great device. So it locks in three places. It's got your fine adjuster lock, the bar lock, and then this lever allows you to lock at the far end, but I'll show you that one now. So again, line it up. Okay, let's just move this out of the way now. So now, basically we're looking at the scale here. If you can see, I don't know, but hopefully you can. You can see it on this side, if not, you can see it move here. So the first lock, I always think of left to right and right to left. So the first lock I would lock is here. We're looking for 140mm. So lock your fine adjuster first, nothing else. And now this allows you, you might see it better on this side or this side, fine adjustment. So you can be really, really accurate. The second lock brings the rail straight, parallel to the blade, and the third lock lifts the bar at the end, so it grips at both ends of the table. So it's really, really rigid, and I would strongly suggest, even if you don't go for the set version, that this will be a really good buy if you like this, you want to do really accurate parts. And again, just like the other fence, you can slide the rail off, turn it the other way around, slide that on. And what I would always do, using it on this table saw or on any table saw, is you want to leave that about halfway so the timber has a chance to escape without keeping the tension all the way through the table. But in this case, we're going to flip that on its side, do it the original way. So we'll leave it about there. So at this point, I think it's time to talk about the SawStop and to have a go with the SawStop. When the SawStop goes off, it goes off with a bang, and to give you an indication of the forces involved, it's a bit like a 40-ton truck hitting a wall at 50 miles an hour. It stops the blade in 5 millionths of a second. So it's really traumatic. It's a real big movement. But it stops the blade within 5 millionths of a second. The original machines, I believe, were 5,000th of a second 20 years ago. So the improvement's been vast. And the way it works is a cartridge receives a signal, releases a block of aluminium under the tension of a spring, and that fires it into the blade. And it literally stops the machine dead. But what will also happen is the blade drops down below the surface of the table. So there's no way you can harm yourself. And when we do this, of course, I've still got 2 thumbs and I intend to keep 2 thumbs. We're going to do it with a sausage. So let's show you how we do this with the sausage. I think now that Gillian's maybe going to move the camera around to make it a bit easier for you to see this in action. Also, at this point, what we're going to do, normally we wouldn't lift the blade all the way up, obviously. You want the most number of teeth doing the cutting, but in this case, just to show you the action of the SawStop, we're going to do this. So, we have a freshly prepared hot dog, courtesy of Lidl, I think, or Aldi, one or the other. And we're just going to pop this in here, and then we're going to drive this through. So, as I say, watch the birdie, we'll count it down. We'll start the machine up, one last check. Sausage is touching the red light is flashing, so everything's ready to go. So, 3, 2, 1, glasses on. SawStop, here we come. And there you go. Now then, we'd like to show you, as you can come in there, Gillian, absolutely any mark. I can't see any, but that's I'm old. You might see a mark. I can't really see, maybe a tiny witness mark there, but I think that's a lot better than losing a finger. It's fantastic, guys, and if you look now, where's the blade gone? It's disappeared. It is a fantastic device. Now, you don't want this to go off every week, every month. You probably, in the lifetime of the saw, hopefully you'll never see this thing deploy. So I'm sure there's a few questions after that. If anybody wants to ask any, we're happy to answer as many as we can for you. But that's the SawStop, and that's the SawStop kit, or the TKS 80 with SawStop, and that's the setup. This sausage is getting really smelly now as well, guys. But unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, of course, we might be eating those tonight in our hotel.
So Tibble28 on Instagram asked, how much effort does it take to replace the SawStop once it's activated?
Not much. What we did plan to do, because we're on a schedule here of different demonstrations one after the other, what I do intend to do at the end of this session, which should be at 1 o'clock, we'll probably finish today after I've done the CS50, we are going to make a little video for you of me replacing the blade. It really is very simple. We simply flip this up. There is one instruction I'll give you now, actually, because you'll be able to see it from that angle, is what you must do is turn the blade all the way down, and you'll hear a noise, and then back up. Now the blade is up. It's really important you wind it down first, and then it kind of resets things. This cover comes off, the cartridge is replaced, and what I'm going to show you now is what's just happened. And what's just happened is this is deployed, and you can see here this aluminium block now fires into the blade, but you can see this distortion here and here and here. And what we'll show you now is the original, the new cartridge. Thank you. It's all right, I keep two. So if you look at the shape of those two now, the one on the left is the new one, obviously, and the one on the right, you can see the amount of energy that's gone into that, and the same on that camera too. Yeah, I've got people at the back frantically waving at me. I've got to lift it up. Yeah, they're a bit better. Okay. That's how much energy's gone into that. It's incredible. But actually, these two come out together when you disassemble the blade, when you come to change the blade, and it really is a very simple process. But the plan is, when I finish the next demonstration, Gillian or Stuart are going to film me, and they'll post it on the website, and you'll see it's not difficult. It's a very simple process. But I'm sure there must be more questions about the blade somewhere. Popular question about the blade.
Yep, so someone's asking, is it compatible with other brands' blades?
Yes, as with all Festool saws, you're not strictly barring the next one I'm going to show you actually. But yeah, you can use compatible blades. It has to be the same diameter. If you pass me the box, Eddie, we've got my box with the blade in, or the box. This is, I am sure, a 250mm blade. Can't see now. Just take on the blade, Eddie. It is 250. 250. Yeah, it is a 250mm blade. I don't know why I've asked that. I've done this 4 times in the last 2 days. It's a 250mm blade. What's really important is that you use a 250mm blade. The SawStop will not activate, or it will activate differently if you use a different diameter blade. So that's the key thing. At first, when we launched it, I thought, is there a special coating on it that makes the SawStop work or anything like that? No, it's just a saw blade, but you do need a 250mm saw blade. So as long as it's 250mm, you should be okay. Just to point out something, and it's something I always do at presentations and trade shows, all Festool saws, whether it's a jigsaw, an oscillating saw, a circular saw or a table saw, all the blades are colour coded. So on the back of the box for your blade, you'll see these 3, and it's basically coarse, medium and fine. Blue is always a metal or aluminium, non-ferrous or ferrous metal, and then red is always an acrylic. So in this case they quote Trespa, which is a very popular item in things like lab assembly, lab manufacturing, you know, worktops and doors and cabinets in labs. So basically, yeah, that's really important to remember that is available. And just check the back of your box as well. Back to Eddie.
Okay, and someone else is asking, can you reuse the blade after SawStop has been activated?
Really good question. No. Basically, you've really damaged the integrity. I mean, for example, if that was your car and you were hit by a 50-ton truck, what do you think? Would the integrity of your car be any good? Probably not. I've never seen or heard of anybody, we've not had it that long, but I've not heard of anybody yet being able to separate the two. Literally, they're almost welded to each other now. I would say that no, don't do it. And also, bear in mind, you know, you shouldn't be setting this off, guys. You shouldn't be setting this off. If you think this is going to go off every week or every month, then maybe you probably shouldn't be near a table saw. So it shouldn't. Yes, it will be a cost, and I think Eddie can tell me roughly.
About £150.
So £150 will get you a new blade and a replacement cartridge. Yeah, it sounds a lot of money, but again, what price? Your pinky. So bear in mind, you know, you're not going to be using this. It's not an ongoing cost. The blades, you can put anybody's blades on. We'd like you to choose Festool. Why would we put a terrible blade on a fantastic piece of machinery like this? You know, we're not going to put a £3 Chinese blade on this. It's a quality blade made for Festool. But yeah, by all means, try another blade if you choose, but just make sure it's 250mm diameter. But a fabulous piece of kit. It's done really well so far. We have stock here at Kelvin Power Tools. For now, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.